Hey everyone, I'm back, and here are the biggest changes from the manga to the anime in Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 2. So let's start this episode off, and what better way to do that than with the dignified Geto, who instead of searching on how to torture people on his phone, now makes some anime-exclusive tea while said torture is already in progress, and only picks up the phone after receiving a fabulous selfie from his best friend to show the poor guy. Yeah, Q is proven obsolete pretty quickly, meaning it's gonna take a real gambling man to take out the prodigal students. Someone like this guy, though he might not have the best of lady luck on his side. Well, he already spent most of that money on the hitmen though, so it looks like he's taking the more hands-off approach to dealing with his responsibilities. Kinda like the way he deals with Megumi. What a name drop. Oh, and speaking of name drops, back at the hotel, Gojo and Geto now name drop Shoko's ability in the anime, as well as talk about her ineptitudes at teaching that ability, but luckily for Gojo, he didn't need it, because if this girl is able to land one of the best strikes on him that we've seen in this show, then I think she'll be just fine. At least until her harsh mouth is met with retaliation between the two. Retaliation that Kudoi here, who no longer has a name card like everyone else did last episode, puts a stop to mid-twist. This mission's already becoming so wearing for the two Sorcerer Supremes that Gojo now takes an anime-exclusive seat while RIKO gives Geto's curse an anime-only pet, which she will then mount right afterwards to practice her Chunibyo talk. Naturally, she's not taken very seriously by the two, but her request for going to school unfortunately is. We can no longer see who's on the other side of this phone call, but thanks to the power of voice acting, we don't need to know who Gojo's complaining to. Geto, on the other hand, is a little more understanding of the needs to fulfill life wishes before relocating to another human being, and has plenty of curses in the area that the manga alone shows us to make sure that all this goes swimmingly, before two of them are taken offline. The manga alone also shows the death of one of those curses, but more importantly, the anime didn't adapt the page introducing the two bounty hunters that took them out. The dialogue from Bucky McBadbat here is used much later on in the episode once he's unveiled, but otherwise those two are left up in the air as we transition into chapter 68. Which doesn't start on page 1, mind you, because the anime decides to first show Gojo and crew split up to find RIKO first. And once they do split up, we'll then rewind back to the beginning of this chapter with Fushiguro in the takoyaki shop. A shop that's been retrofitted with an anime-exclusive TV where the sorcerer killer can watch the race while chatting with his partner, who, similar to the phone call with the principal, isn't really shown in the anime. In place of that, the anime attempts to draw visual parallels between Fushiguro and the anime-exclusive race that's happening right now, and it succeeds pretty well. It's really impressive how much more can be pulled from basically the same lines by just tweaking the layout to further ground him in his environment. We even got an extra scene throughout it all where Fushiguro bumps into this unfortunate sap and walks all over his meal after getting an anime-exclusive refill. Shot placement and Fushigoro's new minute reactions really drags you in further because its exposition is being enhanced with superb visual storytelling. And the same can be said when we skip back over a couple of pages to Geto's encounter with the Jujutsu Grandpa. His lengthy explanation is made interesting with the inclusion of paneling work in the anime to show the multiple angles he's looking at the situation through, even if his analysis didn't really amount to his victory in the end. After Geto sent a giant-ass worm his way, the poor guy no longer even gets the chance to think about how this attack fills the whole hallway before being forced to exit and then re-enter said hallway. He also doesn't have this line here, but I think what's more surprising is this full-page doge that Akutami-san hit us with. It's crazy to think that the sight of such a pleasant good boy would trigger the most brutal defeat of all time for this man. This might just hold the record as the fastest 4 manga pages to have been adapted to anime form, and it even had time to go off script a bit by adding more to the senior destroying combo breaker. Very inventive that the choir RIKO and her classmates started singing would double as funeral music for the poor dog lover. It also does well to bleed us out of this chapter and into the next one instead of just ending with some more lines from Bucky here. Again, we will get to him later, but for now, it's time for Gojo to exercise his passive swooning abilities. In chibi-fied anime form, these girls are so much more vocally ecstatic over Gojo's presence. In addition to getting him to take off his glasses, they now request some poses from him as well, before the teacher tries getting involved, in more ways than one. But before that gets into dangerous territory, Gojo finally gets the chance to slip out with RIKO, and we can finally get introduced to the paper bag man who's watching them take off, and he can finally catch up on all the manga lines he skipped over these past 2 chapters. Just in time for him to be swiftly taken out by the Maid of Doom. Fighting him, she seemed to have everything pretty well in the bag, but just for extra reassurance, Geto's late arrival to the scene is now led in with some anime-exclusive curse arms to hold the guy down. Not that it really mattered all that much, because his actual location is much harder to pin down than he is physically. The moment he spotted RIKO, the other versions of himself were already ready to intercept. 5 versions to be exact, but it did not take long for those numbers to swiftly go down to 3. Naturally, there's some differences in posing here, such as where these two collide with one another, or where Gojo puts RIKO during the thick of the action, but his Jedi prowess is still flexed all the same, and actually even more so in the anime with how these two keep keep floating as Gojo warms up to explain the literal math behind his abilities. An explanation that leads into some pretty heavy changes too. See, originally Gojo would conclude his teachings with a live demonstration, bringing himself and Bucky together like a magnet, but in the anime, his explanation is instead finished by Bucky trying to hit Gojo with some rocks before running away. This means that now he'll have to tell RIKO to cover her head as he'll be warping directly to Bucky in a nearby building. The guy might be upside down now, but nonetheless, Gojo will still attempt his insanely busted experimental technique on him. Busted being the perfect word for it, but while Gojo was busy using a level 1000 move on a level 3 slime, it looks like things on Geto's side aren't doing so well, which perfectly ends out this chapter and the episode. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, then make sure to give it a like, share it with a friend, and maybe get subscribed for more content like this. Sorry for making y'all wait so long. We're gonna start getting caught up, and episode 3 is next. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and this is Registry, signing off. Take care, everyone.